Afternoon everybody, Rich here, back again for another video for the Diecast F1 review. Here today is the Mercedes F1 W03, I think, from the 2012 Formula 1 World Championship. And in the car is Nico Rosberg. And of course this is the only Mercedes of the strange duckbill platypus weird design nose era of Formula 1, when Formula 1 went a bit mad with its rules on nose and nose concepts. Silly rule if you ask me, but anyway. And it was also the last car driven by the great Michael Schumacher. Keep fighting, Michael. I hope you get better soon, if ever. But yeah, it's the Mercedes that sort of stepped the team in the right direction, but also dropped them back a bit as well. The car was a race winner, sort of by round 2 or 3, but the car unreliable, or sort of a bit more reliability, but not much drivability. And of course Nico Rosberg pretty much wiping the floor again with Michael Schumacher, although Schumacher did eventually score his first podium, and only podium really, with this team. Yeah, there's not much else you can say about that really. The team were en route for a 1-2 finish at the Chinese Grand Prix, but a botched tyre stop cost Schumacher second place, and he ultimately dropped out with a runaway wheel, or a runaway wheel nut. And the team never really had the same sort of success throughout the year, although only 3 podiums to score. The points was pretty consistent, at least with Nico Rosberg in the car. I think 2 podiums for Rosberg, of course the win, and was it a second or a third place later on? I think it was a second place. But Schumacher only managed third at the European Grand Prix, only really thanks to Pastor Maldonado taking Lewis Hamilton off on the last lap and promoting Schumacher up 2 places. Of course the car was a bit controversial as well, with a double DRS system through the nose. Although saying that, this model doesn't actually have a DRS system on the rear wing, which is a bit weird. But yeah, the car is sort of a weird era for Formula 1. 2012 was a bit up and down. The double deck diffusers had been banned, the exhaust blowing diffusers had been banned, and Formula 1 is sort of going through its scratchy head time of redesigning things, also with the ridiculous step noses as well. But yeah, it was a funny season. I mean, was it 7 winners throughout the year, or was it 8 winners eventually, with Raikkonen winning later on? It was a good season, you know, with lots of action, lots of different drivers winning, but it was a weird year, as well as I'll say for us UK fans anyway. Of course Sky TV took the rights to the Formula 1 as well, so it was a change in the broadcasting as well, which is a bit weird. Sort of everything, when things like that change, it really does make, I don't know, it's not really what the word is. It just change. I don't like change too much, you know what I mean. Anyway, enough about that. Yeah, the car was fast. It was, on its occasion it was fast, but it was nowhere near, say, Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, and ultimately Lotus. And the team really only managed to finish, I think, about 18 points clear of Sauber, which was quite astonishing really. Sauber were on a real roll throughout 2012, which is a shame really, considering their depths they plummeted to 2 years later. Like I said, 5th place in the Constructors' Championship, and was a step in the right direction development wise, because by 2013 the car was much faster. It was the second best car, although you could say that throughout 2013 as Red Bull had won everything. But 2012 was a step in the right direction. A front row lockout at the Chinese Grand Prix, which of course is where Nico Rosberg won the race, and a sort of false pole position for Michael Schumacher at Monaco. He took the fastest time in qualifying, but was then demoted, I think 5 or 6 places in the race, before the race start, and ultimately retired with a, I think, blown engine. So not much going for the car really. Of course 5th place, like I said before, and yeah, it was a development in the right direction for 2013, because the car was completely different for 2013 really, although if you look at the nose it probably was going to have a step nose, but they covered it up with the old vanity panel. So yeah, not much else you can say about the car really. Performance wise it was average, although it was fast, but it was nothing compared to like the top 4. But onto the model itself. Of course, this is a Minichamps model, and 1/18 scale, of course. Now, a quick look around the car. So we've got the front wing, of course, to start off with, the ridiculously over-cluttered front wing, which you have in Formula 1 these days. And if you look at the car from this angle, the step nose doesn't show up, which is pretty good. But yeah, we're looking down at the clutter of the front wing, although it's not as cluttered as, say, 2015 standards, with I think another 5 or 6 pieces added on since then. Of course, we've got the step nose. You not really see it from this angle, but we'll look around that way. Put a bit of shadow over it so you can see it. There's the step nose there. Quite gawky looking, and very much it's a very big step as well, because it's a much higher chassis than a lot of the cars had that year. I think only Caterham, only Caterham really had a step that was as big as that. So I think Red Bull and Toro Rosso had the smaller steps. Anyway, we'll look around the side of the car. Got the side panels there, got the cockpit there, and a very, very tightly packed rear end. So if I look from above, I'll get the car a bit closer actually. If I look from above, you see how tightly packed the rear of the car is. Really, really tightly packed around there, which I think was probably what caused a lot of engine problems that year. But it's really tightly packed. Of course, you've got the exhaust coming out the top of the side pod there, sort of 1998-esque. And if you zoom in a bit closer, you can see the carbon effect on there as well, very nicely covered up, although you can see ripples in it there. But yeah, it's very nicely detailed on the rear there. So you've got the vents and the Pirelli branding there. To zoom out again, and like I said, I don't think this model actually has a DRS mechanism on the rear. You can see the rear wing there, but there's no DRS mechanism. Maybe it's I can't remember. I have to look into the photos of the real car whether it actually had a sort of something built into the side of the rear wing or otherwise that way. But I don't know. Maybe there's a piece missing. I don't know. I know it's not the best of models, but there we go. Let's turn around this way. Let me have a look down the back end here. Plenty of detailing in the diffuser there. Of course, the diffuser being a very delicate subject in Formula 1 at the time. We've got the view of the rear bodywork there, very nicely sculpted. And looking down the nose as well. So we get the T-cam view here. If we look at the nose, which just looks ridiculous from this angle, although it's gone blurry. But the nose, it just looks weird, doesn't it, with these step noses. But overall, not really that bad. I mean, it's just sort of a blip in the era of Formula 1. I mean, they don't use step noses anymore. We just have little peg noses instead, which look ultimately even more ridiculous. Anyway, we'll have a quick peek underneath the car. So we have a look at the underside here. Of course, we've got the Mercedes GP W03 there of 2012, and the Minichamps branding there. And we'll get a look under the nose here. So we've got the big front wing supports there. Of course, the narrow nose, small winglets under there. And look up to the diffuser, which is pretty basic by all accounts. And of course, looking at the tyre there, and just showing you something which I was going to point out a bit later on. But when I got this model, the tyres had fused to the base of the box, and because of that, I've had to put post-it notes under the wheels in the box so that the tyre doesn't dissolve and merge with the base, which is a bit of a shame, really. But it is a shame and a bit of an issue. Shouldn't have to happen that way. So if I just pick up the base, I'll show you. So I put post-it notes in there just so you can see where the tyres sit. The front tyres are alright because they sit in a plastic holder, i.e. this thing, the front wheels sit in that, so there's no dissolvent problem going on there. And I've lost the screws as well, so they've gone all over the floor. I shall pick them up in a minute. But that's one of the issues with the car, the rear tyres melting into the base. The other issue is the Pirelli branding on the tyres. I don't know if this is just mine or it's an issue worldwide, but the Pirelli branding feels like it's not. It feels very rubbery and sticky. It's like damp paint, tacky paint. It makes you don't want to touch them really, because it's like they're not set, and it just feels unfinished. There's a quality issue going on there. But the Pirelli Branding feels really sticky, very sort of like it's going to peel off or rub off on your fingers, so I really ought to stop touching it. But that is an issue which I think should be, or should have been, corrected at the time. So the tyre, the inside, it's all over really. I think, is it the rear tyres as well? Yeah, rear tyres as well. Feels really tacky and unnecessarily tacky. It just sort of feels like it's going to come off, or it's going to come off on your fingers, you know, like wet paint. But I don't know if that's a universal issue or just with mine. I'll have to ask around a bit more, or just post in the comments below. You know, if you have that same problem, then let me know. But yeah, strength-wise of the car, the front wing is, of course, with these era of cars with the wide front wing, the front wing is usually the weakest point. And with all these gubbins on the front wing, like these extra winglets and things, it does make for a very weak structure. And of course, the front wing being wide is very fragile as well. Suspension's fine. It's pretty tough, although the steering mechanism is a bit loose. It feels like it's, or sounds like it's going to break, but I think it's just where it's loose in this hand. The pull rods, or the push rods, are a bit loose on the front suspension. Well, not loose, but I think they're just a bit fragile with this very thin piece here. It goes into the chassis. It's very, yeah, that's the only fragile point of the suspension I can think of, or I can point out at this time. So that's that. The side pods here, the side wings are fine. The wing mirrors are flexy but fine. T-cam's fine. Rear wing is pretty solid, although flexing at the base, it's not too bad. Rear suspension is fine as well. So the strength's alright. The variants of the car, I suppose it's Minichamps milking the license as much as they can. There are plenty of variants of this car available. This is the basic Nico Rosberg version. I think there is a Nico Rosberg first win edition for the Chinese Grand Prix, a Michael Schumacher last Grand Prix edition for Brazil, a Michael Schumacher pole position version for Monaco, which of course wasn't really a pole position, and I think a Michael Schumacher Belgian Grand Prix edition, but I'm not really sure what that's for. So yeah, there are plenty of variants around as well. Can't remember what I was going to say, but yeah, I think the only real difference between those ones is the tyre markings. I think the Monaco version is red banding on the tyres rather than yellow. I don't think Minichamps made any changes to the bodywork or front wing design, so I'm not really sure if the variants are really worth the money. But price wise for this car, it varies. I think the Nico Rosberg version, at least the basic version, which is this one, tends to go pretty cheap. You know, it's sort of £20–30, something like that. It's the Schumacher versions which cost a lot of money, especially say the Brazilian Grand Prix edition with the Schumacher holding the flag up, commemorating his second retirement. But I don't think there's much more. I don't know what the price is, but it tends to go for quite a bit. And this car was later released as a show car for the 2013 season, which is basically a slight repaint. I think teal stripes along the top of the chassis and a Lewis Hamilton figure in the car. That is really the only change of this model. Is really considered really basically for the 2013 show car. It's not worth a lot of money to me, but I think with Hamilton being, of course, a 3-time champion now, the price of the show car has gone up a bit. So if you want the 2013 show car, which is basically this with a bit more green on it, then by all means buy it. I'm not sure what it's worth, but I won't be picking them up. But that's just my opinion anyway. If you want the Lewis Hamilton collection, then by all means buy it, and it probably look good in the collection as well. So if you own all the Mercedes, then it should look pretty good. Pardon me. But anyway, that's pretty much all I've got to say on the matter. So this is Rich signing off, logging off, disappearing. Oh, not the camera. Yeah, disappearing, and I shall return with another review. So bye for now.